Hi everyone, happy Thursday and welcome to your reading lesson. So to get started, we're going to have a look at our reading from yesterday. So take out your work from yesterday and get yourself a different colored pen or pencil, and we'll start our lesson by taking up yesterday's work together. So just pause the video if you need to go and get anything. All right, and welcome back. So we're going to have a look at our retrieval questions. Number 1, what did Sophie and her mummy tell Daddy? Remember, the questions are in order. So let's look for those keywords. So we know it's going to be Sophie, and we know we're looking for mum or mummy. And what did she tell him? We know that told is the past tense of tell. So we know that told and tell are related words. So Sophie and her mummy told him what had happened and how the tiger had eaten all the food and drunk all the drink. So lots of detail for you to add there. So kind of our first level of answer would be they told him what happened, which is a bit of detail. So that's a true answer and it's an okay answer. But remember, we're always talking about adding detail. So more detail from the story would be they told him how the tiger ate all the food and drunk all the drink. So you could add more detail as well. So if you have they told him what happened, you can give yourself a tick. But if you want to add even more detail, that's a more year 2, 3 answer. So it'd be good to add as much detail as you can. Number 2, what didn't Sophie's daddy say? What didn't he say? Didn't means did not. So we're looking for the one choice that he didn't say. But let's keep going just to find out. And Sophie's daddy said, I know what we'll do. I've got a very good idea. We'll put on our coats and go to a cafe. So what didn't Sophie's daddy say would be, he did say, I know what we'll do. He did say, I've got a very good idea. He didn't say, what a disaster. So the answer is B, what a disaster. And for question number 3, where was the family going? He said, get your coats and we'll go to a cafe. So they were going to a cafe. I'm recording most of my answers in full sentences because we've talked about that as a challenge for year 1. If we can record our answers in a full sentence, that's even better. Number 4, what did they have to do before they went to the cafe? What did they have to do before they went to the cafe? So let's go back to that page and see, what does Dad say? We'll put on our coats and go to a cafe. So you can see in the picture, using those retrieval skills, they're putting on their coat first. So that's a good idea. Gives us a good idea of what they need to do first. They put on their coats. That's what they had to do before they went to the cafe. Number 5, why do you think they were going to a cafe? Why do you think they were going to a cafe? And remember, this is not a retrieval question. This is an inference question. So you get to think about what you know from the story and come up with your own ideas. So from some of the submissions I saw on the email yesterday, I saw that a lot of us thought they had to go to a cafe to get some dinner because they didn't have any food. Someone said maybe Dad wanted to make them feel better about the tiger eating all their food, so they went to a cafe. So they're definitely going to a cafe to get something to eat, and you can give an extra reason as why you think they're going. And number 6, true or false? It was light out when they went to the cafe. So let's look at that last page. So they went out in the dark and all the street lamps were lit and all the cars had their lights on, and they walked down the road to a cafe. So we can see right in the text, it says, so they went out in the dark. So we know that it was dark. And by looking at the illustration to help us, we also know that it was dark. So it wasn't light when they went. So that would be false. Fantastic. So make sure you count up all the ticks you have, and you can give yourself your mark out of 6. Remember, this is how we record it. So you can say 6 out of 6 if you've got it. Lovely. If you added any extra detail in the first questions, like I said, you could add telling about how the tiger ate the food and the drink. You can give yourself a bonus point. So you might end up with 7 out of 6 if you added even more detail. Fantastic. All right, today, remember Thursday and Friday, we take a little break from the tiger who came to tea. So today we're going to learn to apply our reading skills and our retrieval skills to a new text. So let's have a look at our steps to success, our success criteria for reading a text. So we know before we get started from phonics that it's quite helpful if we circle the tricky words we know. So if you're working on a tablet and you've frozen the screen so you can see it, you might not be able to circle it, but you might be able to point to some of the tricky words that you already recognize. And that's a really helpful trick because then your brain will already recognize those words, so you won't have to sound them out. So the next step before we read, if you have this on a paper or if you have it on a tablet where you can kind of mark up the screen, we would underline the digraphs and the trigraphs that we see. Now you might not be able to underline on your screen, but you can certainly pause the screen and look for any digraphs or trigraphs that you see and make sure you say the sounds that they make. And our last step is all about practice. So we know we have to read through the text at least 3 times. And what we're looking for when we're reading is, does our reading sound smooth? So are we stopping to sound out every word? Or do we start to know more of the words and we can read them in a good full sentence? And for you, you can say, do I find it so tricky? When you have read it enough, it shouldn't be so tricky to sound out the words because you'll start to remember them from reading it before. So a big part of our lesson today, a good 10 minutes needs to be just practicing reading the text because that's what's going to help us to become really good, smooth, fluent readers. So that's the first step, and let's get started. So we've got a new text, and since we've been learning about poems this week, or poetry, I thought I would choose a poem for today. So the poem is called My Bunny. I'm going to read through it with you one time so you can just sit and listen. And then I would like you to have a go at practicing it for a good 10 minutes you should be spending. So let's go through the steps together. So let's have a look for those tricky words. I'm going to circle the tricky words I see. So I see have, I see I, little. Look, we've already got 3 tricky words. We've got he. Actually, I might underline them just so it doesn't block out for you. Oh, so, me, you, what. Wow, tricky words everywhere. My, likes, to. And then I can recognize my because I've already underlined it. My likes, the, I like to, all 3 of those. My. Perfect. We'll keep going. My likes to, my likes to. And you'll notice a lot of these words repeat themselves in the sentence. Oh, now this is a long word and I don't know all of it, but I recognize a tricky word inside of it. Did you spot the word some? Well done if you could spot the tricky word some inside of this word. Let's have a go at reading that word. Some, sometimes. Oh, that's a long one. Can you have a go at reading that with me? My turn. Sometimes. Your turn. Fantastic. Now we'll try to remember that word. He, sometimes, he, that, you, what, my, do, you, have, to, like. So you can see we have so many words in this text that are tricky words, but tricky words are really helpful when we're reading because tricky words we have in our memory. So we don't actually have to use our sounds to read those words, which means we don't need to use as much energy when we're trying to read that passage. Now let's have a look and see if we recognize any digraphs. I'm going to use a green pen for that. Ooh, we can see the E sound. Another E sound, our phase 5 E sound. R, E. When I underline them, have a go at saying them with me. I'm sure you're already joining in, but just in case. U, R, ul, ul. I hope I'm not missing any. You can let me know in your email if I've missed any. Ow. That could be ow. What other sound could it also be? That digraph makes two different sounds. Ow and oh, that's right. Oh, like snow. Well, I'll have to find out which one that is. When I read it, we'll have to say what makes sense. And we've got ooh. Oh, lovely. And look at our little question mark down there. So we've got a question. All right, so we know we have loads of tricky words and loads of digraphs in our text, and that can help us when we're doing our reading. So my turn to read it, and then I'd like you to pause the screen, and I want you to have a go at reading it. Remember, 10 minutes of reading. I want to hear it at least 3 times, because reading lessons aren't just about answering the questions, listening to the teacher and answering the questions. It's about us becoming good, fluent readers, so we need the practice. So my turn. My bunny. I have a little bunny. He is oh so sweet. Let me tell you what my bunny likes to eat. My bunny likes carrots and clover from the yard. I like to feed my bunny. It's not too hard. My bunny likes to run, and my bunny likes to hop. And sometimes he will flip, and sometimes he will flop. Now that you know what my bunny can do, wouldn't you like to have a bunny too? Fantastic. I love that that poem rhymes as well. So now I'm going to go back to the screen. You can have a go at pausing it. And I want you to spend that good 10 minutes really practicing your reading yourself. Look at the punctuation to help you know what kind of expression you're going to read it with as well. If it's exciting, if it's a question. And there's our next page. Fantastic. Great. Now that you've spent some time doing your reading practice, we're going to look at the second part of our lesson, which is we're learning to retrieve. So let's look at our success criteria for retrieval. We know to retrieve, we have to be a word detective. That means we have to go back and find that clue word from the question in the story. Step 2, make sure you read around the clues. You have to read the whole sentence if you want to understand what the answer might be. Step 3, reflect, think. Does that sentence answer your question? You have to think. Does that make sense, or is that one not really answering the question? You have to think about it. And number 4, check the pictures. So sometimes there will be illustrations. They might have some clues in them. They might not, which is why we don't always check the pictures first. That's step 4. But if we're still a little unsure or confused, looking at the pictures might be a helpful clue. So now we've got 4 questions for you to do independently. And remember, you don't need to write the question down. You just need to write the answer down. So number 1, what does the bunny like to eat? So you have 3 choices. A, he likes to eat ham and eggs. B, he likes to eat apples. And C, he likes to eat carrots and clover. Now, just as a clue, I know some of you might have had a bunny as a pet, and you might know lots of foods that bunnies like to eat. But remember, we're being good retrievers today. So we're using the best answer for today is the answer that's in the text. We're going to go back to the text and find out what the author said in the poem. Okay, number 2. Number 2, I'd like you to have a go at reading number 2 and reading your choices for number 2. I'm not going to read that one to you. I want you to have a little go at it yourself, okay? So pause the screen and have a go at reading the question and reading your choices. And then I'll come back to, we'll do number 3 together. All right, number 3, where does the clover come from? A, the clover is from the yard. B, the clover is from the store. Or C, we can't tell, we don't know. So where does the clover that Bunny likes to eat come from? Is it A, the clover is from the yard, B, the clover is from the store, or C, we can't tell, we don't know where the clover is from? Make sure you're looking back in the text to help you find your answer because it might be a bit tricky. on number 4, I'd like you to have a go at reading it first and seeing if you can answer it. So make sure you pause the video to do that. And when you come back, I will read it just in case you didn't catch it all. But have a go by yourself. We want to move towards more independence with our comprehension. So have a little go. All right, welcome back. So just in case you had some trouble or couldn't quite understand what the question was asking, it's what do we know about the bunny? A, he is a sweet little bunny. B, he can't run. Or C, he likes to play with other bunnies. So A, is he a sweet little bunny? Is that what they told us in the story? B, he can't run. Or C, he likes to play with other bunnies. So let's see what they've said in the story. Fantastic. So 4 questions for you to answer today. And then as a little bit of an extra task, because I know our literacy lessons this week we've been doing lots of performing, so we haven't done as much writing. So I've added a little extra bit for you to do today to keep up with your writing. And we have a picture of the bunny, some clover, and some carrots. So these are just some pictures to help you get started. So on a piece of paper, you can draw your own picture of the bunny. What was he doing in the poem story? What was he eating maybe? So you can draw your own bunny, and then you can write some sentences, 2 or 3 sentences about the bunny from the story. And remember, sentences need to have capital letters, finger spaces, and full stops. And what would a good writer do when they finish their sentence? They would read it over. That's right. So we've got 4 questions, a little bit of writing, and lots of practice with our reading today. And that should keep you not only nice and busy this afternoon, but really learning and improving on your reading. So that is fantastic. And I can't wait to see you back here tomorrow. Friday is an exciting day because we get to do our draw for the Judith Kerr book. So make sure you're here so you can find out if you're the winner. You might be the winner, you don't know. And we will look at those questions tomorrow. So see you tomorrow, everyone.